Hey everybody, and welcome back to Bottomless Coffee with Jerome. In this episode, I want to give a special shout out to Advocates for Better Health and the Minnesota Department of Health. This cold, flu, and COVID season, please do yourself a favor and do your health practitioners a favor and get up to date on your vaccinations. Now, today we are talking with a powerhouse in the public health community. Clarence Jones has worked for years to keep us and our communities healthy, and he's still continuing to do that work. Clarence is the Executive Director and Community Engagement Strategist of the Hue-MAN Partnership, a coalition of collaborators that strengthen community health through innovative partnerships. So he's got a long title. He is also an Adjunct Instructor of Medicine at the Mayo Clinic. Clarence has a long list of committees, programs, and projects that he's worked on, and he's received many local and national awards. Welcome, Clarence.
Thank you, Jerome, for inviting me to be a part of your program.
Oh, it is a privilege. It is a privilege, and I'm always wanting to help platform people that are working to make our world even just a little bit better. But I think you've surpassed that standard by quite a bit. So very grateful.
I thank you for that recommendation or whatever. I appreciate that very much.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about what brought you to public health?
Well, I think that what brought me to public health really was the fact that, I was going through a series of personal challenges.
Oh, okay.
And I was looking for employment. And I had an opportunity to go to work for a fatherhood program.
Okay.
And I went into the fatherhood program, and then I got the opportunity to go to a federally qualified health center.
Okay.
And that's how I got involved in public health. But let me share a little bit more with you, a little bit about myself.
Please.
How I really got into public health was that all of my life I've been involved in community. When I was 17, I got a chance to go to Africa because of the work that I did in the community.
Which part of Africa? Which part of Africa?
I went to Nigeria. And I recently found out I'm a third Nigerian, which is probably why I enjoyed it so much. But at any rate, we'll leave that there. But so community has always been important to me, and one of the other things about community work that has been important for me has always been around collaboration. So even when I was doing things in the community, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I always wanted to work with people. I mean, it was always, there were a lot of times, and I thought about this recently, there were a lot of times where there were things that I would not do because I couldn't bring my buddies along.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and many times people, they're not on the same wavelength, same page as you are, and so sometimes people don't recognize the opportunities that you recognize, and so you have to give people grace. You have to give yourself some grace. But at any rate, just long story short, I had a chance to talk to a lady at the University of Minnesota. Her name was Dr. Wendy Hillerstadt.
Okay.
And it was there that I had this epiphany. I understood that the things that I had been doing in the community for such a long time was actually public health.
Oh, okay.
And then once I found out it was public health, I drank the Kool-Aid, is what I said. Okay. Which means that all of a sudden it made sense.
Yeah.
This innate desire, ability was that it was a public health lens. I just never had the words for it.
They named it for you.
Once she named it for me, it just went.
Fantastic. Well, what happened?
Well, I went to school. I already had a bachelor's and a master's degree, and I went back to school, to University of Minnesota School of Public Health.
Okay.
I went back there for maternal child health. I was a fatherhood practitioner prior to that, and so it just made sense for me to try to increase my knowledge and my interest by going back to school and getting a degree. And I didn't finish. But the reason I didn't finish, and I'm not ashamed to say this, is that I was trying to go to school while working 60 to 70 hours a week.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it was hard.
And you already had the degree and a master's anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a whole idea about, you have these desires to, you really want, and I think that's what we'll talk about, you really want to make a great impact in the community. You want to do your best. And unfortunately, and yet fortunately, there are times where you do your best, but it's just not the right timing. And one of the reasons why I love Dr. Wendy, and I'll say this, is that when I went to her, she was actually my advisor. Dr. Wendy told me, based on my life, my age, my experience, she says, there's a great possibility that you won't make it.
Oh.
So she told me that.
That was candid.
But it was not designed to discourage me.
Yeah.
It was designed to prepare me. And I always loved her because of that honesty and that transparency. And I still try to keep in contact with her. You know, that honesty and that transparency is what I desire, even in terms of doing work in public health, is that I think you have to earn the right to be able to speak to people about difficult subjects.
Certainly.
You know, and part of what I think is important in terms of our work is that you have to be responsible, you have to be transparent, you have to be honest, but you also have to be willing to be vulnerable. And it's in that vulnerability that you're really able to speak to people in their condition, because therefore they don't see you as a threat. They don't see you as a competitor. They see you as someone who really cares about you, cares about them. But at the same time, you're not trying to get into their business.
Right.
I always talk about this. This is that there is things such as business. There's such thing as business. It depends on how you.
I've got a lot of business. I feel like I need more business in my life.
Right. Yeah, but you have to determine that for yourself. But I think that part, you know, you started off asking me this very simple question. I've gone off on this tangent.
Well, you warned me that you were a looper.
I told you I'm a looper. I'm a looper. But the reality is that I'm engaged in public health. I'm listening to my community. I'm trying to hear what they're trying to say. I'm trying to figure out how do we best serve them? How do we best prepare them for whatever? You're going to talk about that, you know, for the future. How do we help our children to become healthier?
Yes.
I mean, all those kinds of things are there. And the beautiful thing about it, Jerome, is this. I don't have to do it by myself. You know, I understand my strengths. I understand my limitations. I understand what I'm really interested in, because there's some stuff I'm not interested in. But what I do know is that if I'm listening to the community, when an issue comes up that I may not be interested in, guess what? I can find somebody else who may be able.
There you
know
go.
what I mean? So I can connect, and that's really part of what I do.
So you spoke about fatherhood, and that carried you into the University of Minnesota for that master's program. And then I believe that you found Hue-MAN?
I'm one of three people.
Okay.
I'm one of three people that started Hue-MAN. I was Dale Gates, who continuously worked in this in the field. She's working with Blue Cross Blue Shield right now. Okay. And a guy named VJ Smith. Okay. So we joined together to create a parade in South Minneapolis. This is how we started.
Okay, all right, I'm interested.
It was a parade. It was a parade.
Love a parade.
Yeah, because we wanted to kind of, reconnect the community, make it have some fun, those kind of things, because we needed a parade. But in those conversations, what we thought about was, wait a minute, we need to be doing more. And so we needed to think about, what are the other issues that are so prevalent in our community. And so because I was already working in fatherhood, and both VJ was working, he had a program with men, and Dale was very much a supporter. We decided we would go with, we would do a parade, but we would talk about men's health. Okay. And how we did that, we just said, for community to be healthier, men have to be healthier, families have to be healthier, and that makes the community healthier. Yeah. I mean, so it was like, how do you include people? And so what started off as a parade wound up being Hue-MAN. And Hue-MAN, to say what it is, every man has hue, and all of us are human. So when I talk to people about our work, it's not that I'm just only talking about the African-American community. All of us have a hue. All of us are human. And so we have to find those spaces and those places where we can have this honest, transparent conversation about health.
Well, so obviously the parade was successful.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
What are some of the, if you can recall, what are some of the resources that you provided to people at that event, or some of the lessons that you were able to share? Like, how did Hue-MAN, as it first started out, what results did you see in the community as a result of that work?
Well, as a result of our work, somebody actually gave us a 37-foot medical mobile unit. Oh. We had a medical mobile unit that was contributed by UCare that we we actually transformed it into, you know, that place where people could get on the mobile unit and get, you know, blood screenings, and they could get blood pressure. They could have all kinds of health things that were going on.
Because people don't know.
Huh?
Like, the fact of the matter is a lot of people don't know that they need these screenings, or like what is my blood pressure? You know, what am I at risk for? I'm not sure, especially post-COVID. You know, my primary care physician is like, just do a telehealth physical, Jerome. You're probably still healthy. It's been 4 years. You're probably still fine.
Well,
right,
okay,
and you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So that's a great service.
Yeah, I think that part of what I think is important is that we have to be in a place and a space where we earn the right to talk to people about hard topics. And health is very hard. For a lot of men, like just what you just said, a lot of men don't go to the doctors for a long time because they look healthy, or people think they're healthy, but you're not. You know, because there are all kinds of things. By the time you get to the doctor, you're in stage 3 or 4.
Yes.
Okay, and so what we try to do in our work is that we try to talk about preventative things. We try to say, like, what questions do you need answered? And the questions that you need answers, we will tell you. But again, it's your life. I can't run it because I can hardly run my own life.
Yeah.
But at least if I give you accurate, appropriate, and honest information, then you have the right to make a choice. And that's really what I work for.
You're like, the agency is yours. But this is the information, and I hope that you are informed by the information that I'm giving you, and you make, you know, the right choice for yourself. That's huge.
Yeah.
And that's just not the way that healthcare generally comes across in our communities. I think especially because, as you said, we skip these screenings until it's an emergency or until it's a real problem, and then we get this narrative that, well, if you go to the doctor, then you're going to get some really terrible news.
Right.
So just don't go to the doctor. And so the cycle perpetuates itself.
Right. And it's hard. I mean, you know, and I think there's some legitimate reasons why people have fear, but we generally don't want to hear bad news.
No.
And so doctors
like the whiz.
Doctors usually they don't necessarily have bad news, but they do have needles. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't want no needle.
Well,
but anyway.
I don't know. I feel like the good news is, you know, you're fine and here's your bill.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But then you feel bad again, like, oh my God, you know, yeah. So yes, I mean, so it's those kind of things, and so it's important to enter into this arena, open and willing to hear what it is, because in many cases you want to live a more healthier life. You want to live a more sustained life. And part of that is that you have to take care of yourself.
Yep. Now, I want to revisit some of your past work for just a few minutes because we have an intersection.
Okay.
I think I read that you served on the Public Health Advisory Committee for the City of Minneapolis.
I did.
And I am just coming off of my final term.
Really? Okay.
Yep. December is my last month.
Wow. Okay, so we have that in common.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
so what were you working on when you were on the committee?
You know what? We were working on, well, that's such a long time ago.
When was it?
It was when, oh gosh.
Gotcha.
About 2 or 3 mayors ago.
Okay,
Yeah, I was a mayor representative, but we were working on health issues. I was working with Gretchen Musicant at the City of Minneapolis.
Gretchen.
Yeah, I love Gretchen too.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, so we were working on a lot of the community issues and things like that. And I'm really trying to think, what did I do that may have made a difference?
Were you there with the crumb rubber? Were you there with the crumb rubber business?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you there with the equity business? I know Gretchen was huge on equity.
I probably was there. I probably was there while they were talking about it. But
Gotcha.
you know, man, the truth of the matter, Jerome, is I've been on so many committees, man. Like it's like, okay, now and I'm old. You know what I mean? So my mind is like, okay, I'm trying to figure out like, what in the heck did I do?
I think you paved the way.
Well, you know what? I tell you what. The thing with me is that I'm on the shoulders of many people who have gone before me, and I have no problem saying that, you know. And I appreciate when people allow me the opportunity to be me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I think and believe that we all have different talents, different skills, and we have to be in a place where we can exhibit those skills and they can be appreciated. And I know that you and I will never do the same thing the same kind of way all the time.
Yeah.
So I have to appreciate your diversity. I have to appreciate your views, your skill to do that. You know,
you bring such a wonderful perspective on partnership, and you actually came in with this book, the Partner Report edition from a previous, not program, but organization that you were with.
Right.
And this is not available for sale, so we're not selling a book here.
Right.
But it's just full of different partnerships and organizations that you were working with, and it's full of community. And so you are very much engaged with people, and you've got the impact report to show it, which I sincerely appreciate. But I'm like, how did you do all this?
Yeah.
You're busy.
Well, the thing for me is I tell people this all the time. Number one, I don't work with everybody. I'm very clear about that. Okay, not about being elitist, not about being better than anybody. It's just that one of the things that drove me to this work was the fact that I was tired of my community getting money and people being worse off than they were before they got the money. That was my driving force. The other part for me was that I knew that there were treasures in our community that we needed to elevate. And a treasure in my thinking is someone who has been out there doing the work, but they don't necessarily get the accolades, they don't get the rewards, those kinds of things. Everybody knows that they're the ones who are doing it, but other people get the credit for it. So my job was, or my thinking was that, look, I want to have an organization that would find a way to elevate those people, give them the support that they need, and to help them to be more effective than what they are with other community health. I mean, so it wasn't just me. It wasn't about me. It was about, okay, so we have this person that's doing this work. Can I talk to my other partners and say, how can we support this person to do this work? Because we know that they're going to do a good job.
There you go.
You know, and so you look good, I look good, we look good, community benefits. And, you know, that's always been our philosophy, is that we're not trying to be out front. One of the things I tell people is this, that over the 12 years, really over the lifetime of our program, we provided more than 250,000, 250,000 plus health screenings.
Wow.
And we did that through collaboration.
Wow.
It was not about any one organization. I mean, people don't hardly know who Hue-MAN is, but that's purposeful, because what we wanted to do was we wanted to be reputable, we wanted to be strong, but at the same time we wanted to be effective. And so we're not spending a lot of our time, trying to pump ourselves up. We're just trying to figure out who are the players that we should be working with or playing with, so that we can make our community better.
So there's no marketing department at Hue-MAN.
I have a marketing department. No. I mean, we got this. We got this web page. We got, but we're not spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to, pump us up. I mean, I think that many people who are familiar with us understand that we do the work.
Right.
I mean, and that for me is the marketing. When I was telling somebody this, I said, when people say your name, what do they think? When people say your name, what do they think?
That's an excellent question.
And that for me was a very, very profound epiphany, because what I want people to think about me is that, I'm credible, I'm honest, ain't perfect by any means. I mean, don't play that game. But what I do want people to think and to know about me is that I really do care, and I really want to be a supporter. And I do have an ego, so it's not about, like, oh, I'm not trying to sacrifice everything. But
I mean, listen, we're on TV, so there's some two egos on this set.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so it's not that at all. It's not that at all. It really is about the fact that I love a great outcome.
Yeah.
And to see my community or people in my community doing great, and I had a part of that, whether people know that or not doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I like that.
That fulfills you.
That's where it's at.
That's fantastic.
That's why I do what I do.
Well, what I want to do is take a quick coffee break and then come back, and let's get into the nuts and bolts and the substance of what you do and the outcomes that you're seeing in the community.
Great. Thank you, Jerome.
That we are seeing in the community. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Bottomless Coffee with Jerome, and we're having, I think, a really important conversation with Clarence Jones. And now I want to get into the nitty-gritty of your work. Can you tell me some of the work that you've done, let's say with COVID, for instance?
So when COVID came out, one of the things that I wanted to do, and we connected with a nursing program, I wanted to make sure that we were engaged in the process. I knew that during that period of time, because we were Hue-MAN Partnership, we were interested in public health, that we had to take a position on this particular issue. I had a radio program. I was talking about it in the community and those kinds of things. But we wanted to be physically and actively engaged in the work, and that's what we did. And so we connected with a nursing organization. We were at a variety of screenings, not only in the city of Minneapolis, in St. Paul. We were, all over the place, just trying to figure out how in the world do you service our community, because there was such a great need for it. And the other part that I did too was that I thought it was, at this point, I thought it was necessary that we were represented in this crisis. And I say that we, and I very seldom talk like this, but as an African-American person, it was important for the community to see that we also had some a skin in the game. And so there are a lot of times when we went to places where there were very few, sometimes there were more, but it was important. It was important for me to say, like, hey, I'm engaged, our organization is engaged, and we need to be here providing services to our community. And when I said our community at that time, I meant everybody.
Right.
So.
Right. I think one interesting dynamic when it comes to how people like yourself and others who have been on the show have worked in COVID, because I've had some time to think about it now, is that the result, the outcome is better health and life saved. And it's tough to see the results of that work because it's so easy to quantify the negative things as opposed to the positive outcomes. But when I looked at the results for, let's say, the Native American community, I have to wonder if they had a seat at the table, and whether or not things would have been different if they did. And, maybe they did, and I'm just mistaken about it. But even at the Public Health Advisory Committee, when I see the stats, it's like, oh, that's a big yikes. And so, again, I got to thank you for the work that you do, because it really has had an impact when I look at the graph. I'm like, oh, okay, I know some of the people that are keeping the bad bar smaller than it otherwise could be. But that's not the only issue our community has faced. And I think Hue-MAN works, it's crises, like things that the community thinks are important. So it seems like it's very community driven. And so, everybody knew about COVID, but what are some of the crises that people like myself are experiencing that you're working on?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the Native American community. Today, at this time, we are doing a clinic at a Native American community organization research
look at
center.
that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, you from the top up, I might look okay, but from the bottom down, I look like it's cold out here, okay?
Well, can you tell us about what you did today, then?
We did COVID, flu shots. We have some of our nurses there that are doing blood pressure. We have some of the other brothers in the community. They are passing out water around diabetes. We're doing things around toothbrush, oral health. I mean, so we get into that place, and the place that we're serving is with a homeless encampment.
Okay.
I mean, and so we know that many of the people that are there are needs that they have, and so we had the opportunity to be engaged in it, along with the city of Minneapolis. We got invited by the city of Minneapolis to do that. Wonderful. And so we were going to bring our A game. And so it's just, it's important, in how Hue-MAN operates, it's important to keep your ears to the ground. And when you get the opportunity to do something, then you bring those treasures of the community, you bring them out there with you. So everybody looks good. So it's a win-win for everybody. So we do a lot of different things. I think I'm still trying to remember your original question.
Oh, let's talk about the crises. Let's talk about the inequities, those intersections that you've worked on, because selfishly, they're working for me, right?
I think when you ask that particular question, when you take a look at Minnesota, has been, touted as one of the healthiest states in the nation, except for people of color.
It's like four.
So what we find ourselves in today, we find ourselves engaged in the work around organ donation. I mean, people need an organ donation. Infant mortality. I mean, we had Native American and blacks at the lowest part of that. We talk about substance abuse. We talk about strokes. We talk about pain. I mean, we talk about, and interesting enough, one of the more interesting projects that we've worked on, and we're getting results now, is this idea around prostate and barbecue.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Oh yeah, watch out. See. As As a man, and especially as an African American man.
And I grew up in the South.
Yeah. And from the South, we know about prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is one of those things that will drive us to go to see the doctor. Mm-hmm. But also barbecue. We will drive 10 miles, 15 miles to get some good barbecue.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. But the question came in is that the way that we prepare our barbecue, does it increase our chances of getting prostate cancer? Mm. And that's what we're studying right now, because when you talk about the barbecue, that little black charred stuff, on top that tastes so good with that barbecue sauce on it. Yeah. That charred stuff could be very toxic for us. And so we're taking a test. We just did this. We went into a barbershop and we talked to 50 African American men and got hair from them, hair sample. And then at the state fair, they had done 50 white men.
Oh, okay.
Taking a look at the PHIP in their hair and the way that they ate their food. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? To see if there was a reason for it. And we just got a preliminary report. And we always report out to the community what we learn at regular times, so that even though we don't have a conclusive piece, we can kind of tell you which way it's leaning. But for a lot of us who are of African American descent, I believe that there was a lot of PHIP, higher levels of PHIP.
Interesting.
Which is, but that's what we have to do. I mean, we have to enter those questions. Yeah. People look at research sometimes and like, well, we can't do that. But I don't want more men in my community to die of prostate cancer.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So how do you do that? You develop these relationships, and kind of like, so how do we enter into it? How do we disseminate the information? How do we learn from it? And if barbecue is killing us, the way that we cook it is killing us, then we need to change.
I have it's such an unexpected and almost serendipitous intersection if it turns out to work out. Have you happened to met Dr. Zeke McKinney?
Oh, yeah.
So Zeke came on the show, mm-hmm. and one thing we did not get to talk about is a study with firefighters where, they're in the soot and this stuff, kind of like being over a barbecue all day. Mm-hmm. But some of them go to the sauna afterwards and sweat it back out. Sure. And how interesting would it be if, maybe our cooks need to spend a little more time sweating to get the toxins out of their system, so they don't have those negative health outcomes. Another study for the community.
Well, yeah, I think that the key piece is that we have people in places who are made aware of these things that affect communities. And the question becomes, how then do you take that information and work with it so that we can find out whether or not it is something that we as a community need to be addressing. Right. A lot of times we are so afraid of being, how should I say this, not being cultural enough, that we will reject certain things. And that being cultural enough is not necessarily healthy for us. Right. And so if it's not good for you and it's not good for your children, why would you continue to do that? And, it's almost
that's one of the things that keeps me up at night. Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean. But those are the kinds of places that we enter into, and it's not about trying to be less than. It's about we know more. We have different options. Do better. Yeah. We can. Even though we have food deserts and we have pharmaceutical deserts and things like that, there's still information out there that can help us live a healthier life. We have a lot of people who are more than willing to enter into that space to help us to be healthier if we allow them to do that.
So this takes me back to the Public Health Advisory Committee, because it's with the city of Minneapolis, and we know where a lot of the inequities are.
Sure.
We know who's experiencing them, and I think we know what people need. Because a lot of people at the lower end of the income scale are renting low-income housing, and it's, you know, mold behind the walls. It's these gas stoves that for some reason politicians are rushing to defend, which confuses me. It's the bad carpet. And they need a remodel, frankly, if we really want healthier communities. And it's the price tag, I think, that really gets people. But speaking of those issues, the asthma, the gas, the mold, and your background with fatherhood, I'm wondering about how Hue-MAN Partnership is helping to support our youngest, our littles in the community.
Well, we definitely are looking at public policies. I mean, we have different people. I'm not a politician. Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
I tell.
I used to be, I guess.
Yeah. And I'm really clear about that. But that doesn't mean that I don't work with folks who are politicians. You know, I think I always talk about staying in your lane. You know, my goal is more about how do we find the right people to speak to the issue? Who are the right messengers for these issues? And how do you support them as they support us in our community? You know, one of the things, you know, Jerome, we talked about this, and one of the things is that we have to understand what our real role is, okay? And my real role many times is not being out front.
Sure.
My real role is about how do I get behind people? How do I identify people in our community that are really doing the work? And how do I come alongside of them and develop a relationship with them and say to them, how can we support you as you do this work? I can't do everything. You can't do everything. So how do we have this conversation where we can say, we will do this, you will do that, and ultimately, you know, you will be the quote-unquote spearhead for whatever issues that we're facing because you have the positive history of doing the right thing for our community. You know what I mean? So a lot of times I look at things a little bit differently.
Sure.
But my goal has been, and this is just my personal, and I said this a little bit earlier, but my personal goal has been, I'm just tired. I'm tired of our communities being, you know, messed over.
Yeah.
And many times that's not just them. Sometimes it's us.
That's true.
So you know what I mean. So that maybe I shouldn't say that because
no.
But that's true. You know what I mean. And so I think that part of what I want to do is I want to be able to be in a place where, you know, I can honestly, confidently support people that are doing the work, whoever they are. It's going to help our community become healthier. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I won't sell my soul. So the thing,
okay.
I won't sell my soul in this whole process. I'm gonna be very clear about who I am, what I'm about, you know, and my care and my concern. But I'm not selling my soul, and neither should you.
Yeah.
You know.
This is really interesting point that you raised about sometimes it's us. Because I also have my podcast. I'm really focusing on the queer community and our culture right now. And there's just this, in every community almost, there's this element of hubris where we're able to point to other communities and say, you know, why don't they just do this differently? Or why don't they just do better? And sometimes it's right and sometimes it's wrong, you know? But it's so much more difficult to look inward as a community and say, maybe we should do something differently. And I feel like there's almost an element of hubris involved when you're able to look out but not look in, you know? Because when I critique anyone and provide feedback to someone, before I even give them that feedback, I like looking at myself and I'm like, am I doing this thing I'm talking about? Like, let me think on it for a second.
I got a log in my eye. You got a sawdust in your eye. You know what I mean? Like, wait a minute, what's up with that? Yeah. But you know, I think I just believe that it's important to be able to agree to disagree. I think it's important for me. One of the reasons why I talk like this is that I know we've got some of the best and the brightest minds in the world. You know, we have some. I use this term. We sometimes have some of the most effective practitioners around, but sometimes they can be horrible people.
Well.
Okay, so maybe I shouldn't have said that. They're good at what they do,
Right,
but they're not
right.
good at going beyond that. And so my thinking is that, you just have to figure out where people are at. You have to give them grace. You got to give grace for yourself.
Yes.
But the point for me is that I know that we have within our communities, we have the ability to address these issues.
Yeah.
One of the other things I want to share with you is this: is that a lot of times when I'm dealing with academic communities and I'm dealing with researchers and things like that, I tell them that it is important for us to understand the terminology that we're using, because the community is very sophisticated. They're very sharp. They know what's going on. They can tell you what's going on. They may not use the same words that you use, but they know what's happening. Okay, they read. They're intelligent as well. And so I think it's important in this work for people both to be bidirectional, to understand that you saying it this way and I'm saying it this way. It doesn't mean that I'm less intelligent. It just means that this is how I describe it,
Right.
And so part of what Hue-MAN does is a lot of times is in translation. That's what you got to do. You got to translate it,
Yes.
in a way in which it's acceptable to both parties.
That's
That's the whole
very
thing.
true.
I'm saying?
That's very
You
true.
can say, yeah, well, I'm gonna say it this way. We're not.
That's
we're
a
not
very
gonna,
important caveat.
Yes, you can translate to both parties. If people feel like, okay, I didn't sell out.
And is that a bit of the heart of the engagement for you? Because I'm interested in how you perform that translation service in partnership with other communities, politicians, and different organizations. Does that translation look different, or the way you communicate it, does that look different depending on who you're talking to?
I think it always depends on who you're talking to, but I think that the core piece is that, I'm going to be transparent with you. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you, don't lie to me, because I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to try to find out where is the place where we intersect, so that we can stay in that sweet spot. I mean, there's going to be some things about you, some values that you may have that I don't necessarily enjoy, or can't appreciate as much as you do. But that's life. That's people always talk about this fact. People are always so concerned about loving everybody, liking everybody. But 25% of the people that you meet, you're not gonna like no matter what. And many times those people live in your family. You know what I'm saying? They're your family folks, but you don't like them.
Yeah.
But I think that part of what I think is important is to find out, what do you really, really want. I'm a prober. I'll ask a lot of questions, but I'll tell you I'm asking you questions. Again, not to get into your business, but the business of being healthier requires us to have at least a standard by which we interface with each other. And so part of what I think is important is like, who are you really? Who am I really? What is it that I want? What do you really want? How do we work together? Can we work together? Will you vet me? Because I'm going to definitely vet you, and I'm going to be okay with the fact that I'm not perfect for you and you're not perfect for me. So it's that interface that I enjoy.
Well, you're an engagement specialist, and so I think some part of what I was hesitating to say, because it almost seemed like you were describing trust between people.
It is.
But there's boundaries to that trust. Like I will trust you to conduct your business,
Right.
and I might not know what you're doing with your business.
Exactly. And that's okay.
Yes,
That's okay.
It's a
That's okay.
system within which you can interoperate. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And difficult.
It's hard. I mean, like I said, one of the things for me is it's hard because truth of the matter is, I think I'm a very loving person, and I want to be accepting of people the way that they are. But I learned that that everybody is not like that, and so you have to accept that. Some people need more time to do that. That's why I talk about the vetting process. Tell me what you really, really want.
Yeah.
And over a period of time, it can happen. I mean, there are relationships. A lot of my relationships I've been in relationships for over 20 years, especially in the work that I do. But it's taken that time to build. But I do know this, that you know, when I talk about, you know, our partnerships, I know that if I call on my people, I know for the most part what they can do and what they will do.
Yeah.
And that for me is important, especially when I just said I want my community to be healthier. I don't want to be dealing with people who I don't trust.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. You're absolutely right. It is about trust. It's about transparency.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm glad that you've been able to find, like selfishly, I'm glad that you've been able to find this constellation of organizations that you can work with and navigate by to get to wonderful outcomes for our community. So again, I'm in gratitude and I'm deeply grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, I want to say this. I thank you for the opportunity. And we said this in the green room, right? We said that we would have this transparent conversation where, which I normally don't get all the time.
Right.
You know, and especially with people that I don't know well, you know what I'm saying? But so it's good to be able to say some things and to find some commonality in this, because I think that it's so important to have venues like this where people can come in and they can feel non-threatened and non-threatening, you know, and we can just say what we got to say and walk away. I always tell people this: you don't have to be my friend, but I'd like for you to be my ally.
Okay. Well, don't walk away just yet.
Okay.
I do have one last question that I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Right after this break. Be right back. Welcome back. You are watching Bottomless Coffee with Jerome. We've been having a fantastic conversation with Clarence Jones of the Hue-MAN Group, Hue-MAN Partnership.
Hue-MAN Partnership.
Hue-MAN
right.
everything, doing everything out there. Now, as we bring things to a close, one thing I just want to ask, I want to kind of pass the mic over to you.
Sure.
Do you have a final message or a final topic or a certain something that you want to make sure the audience is able to take home with them today?
Well, I always want to say thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be asked to be on the program and to talk about the work that we're doing. I think that we have a phenomenal opportunity to make a difference in our communities. Minneapolis, Minnesota, I always say this, Minneapolis, Minnesota, I believe have streets of gold, but you have to know how to walk on them.
Okay.
Okay. There are all kinds of opportunities that are here in our community that we need to be taking advantage of. And I believe that, you know, it's important for us to be able to provide an opportunity for people to see those things and to be given the opportunity to be promoted.
Yeah.
I think my final message is this, is that I want to see us work closer together. I mean, in terms of community, I want us to address the community collaboratively. We have enough work. I always tell people, especially in the health field, we are never going to run out of sick people, so we don't have to fight.
Okay.
You know, and so part of what Hue-MAN is trying to do in its work is that we're trying to connect ourselves with some of those many people that are doing the work.
Yes.
And to figure out how we can work more collectively.
It's so interesting that you've brought up this idea of competition a couple of times. My experience has almost been the opposite, in that, like on the health committees I've served on, particularly when it comes to issues of like racism or the broader issues, they don't know where to start. And they're like, oh, the problem is so big that we're going to spend all this time admiring the problem rather than getting to work. And so to your point, I would say the idea of competition is just kind of like, it's a really big problem. And even if you did have multiple organizations in the same lane, it's not like you're going to run out of the problem to address.
Right. But I think that part of what we talk about is that's why you have to probe people.
Yeah.
You know, people like to say, well, oh, this is so big, but they have an agenda.
Yeah.
They have a hidden purpose. They have really feelings. They have biases. All of us are biased.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying? But I think a lot of times people want to kumbaya that away so that they don't have to address those things that they struggle with at night.
If kumbaya could solve our problems in Minnesota, they'd be solved.
Don't play. Don't play. Yeah, this is a kumbaya state. Yeah. So, but I think that having people have the opportunity to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people that I can't help the fact that I'm a black man. I had nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it.
Right.
Nothing to do with it. But you can't assume that because I am a black man, that I'm like every other black man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We're different. I mean, everybody is different. I'm responsible for my character. You know, you know what I'm saying? I'm responsible for that. And so for you to lock me in and say, well, you like this, you like that, you don't know me.
Right.
You know, and so part of what I say is that whether or not you agree with me or like me or whatever, you know, if you're really willing to enter that space with me, we can work it out.
Mm-hmm.
We can figure it out. You know, we can walk away, maybe not friends, but we can walk away as allies.
Right.
You know, because we are really clear about where we are with our own standards, our own values. And I think that part of what I most enjoy is getting into those places where I can have those things. So I am a very much an advocate of, let's have an honest conversation.
Yes.
You know, you ain't gonna like everything that they do.
Right.
But you're gonna try. We can try. So.
And you know, I work with some people to get to the right outcome.
Yeah, like I said before, you know, 25% of people that you meet, you're not gonna like no matter what. But sometimes you got to work with them.
Yes.
So you have to put that aside. I always talk about the fact that I don't have to like you, but I do have to respect you.
Absolutely. Oh, if you lose my respect, I'm not going to work with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, then sometimes in this work, you find people that you need to like, no respect. So like, man, it's like,
I'll find somebody else.
You know, when you come on, you know. But see, people won't say that. People will say like, well, yeah, you know.
But it takes a lot of energy.
It does.
Even when you like the people,
right.
to really do the work
right.
and to do it well, because you did a lot today.
Yeah.
Did you get a lot of thank yous?
Yeah.
Did you get a sticker? Or did you get?
Yeah.
It can be thankless.
Yeah.
And if you're working with someone you don't like and you don't respect, then it can be too much.
Right. And I know I'm a piece of work. Okay. So I'm gonna say that first. I know I'm a piece of work. You know what I mean? I know that. I know that some days I wake up like, man, what are you doing? I'm just talking to myself. You know. But the reality is that at the end of the day, I really want my community to be healthier.
Yep.
I want our families to be healthier. I want our children to be better off. And so I will try with my faith and with my the best of my ability to try to make that happen. And so my message is, you know, bring your A game, you know, and understand that you're dealing with people that we're all human.
Yep.
Hue-MAN.
Hue-MAN.
Yeah, Hue-MAN is our thing, but Hue-MAN, I think. And you know, I'm old, so I can
you can get it.
Forget to spell sometimes. But anyway, yeah, we're human. Let's work together.
Let's work together. Clarence, thank you so much. This has really been just a wonderful, delightful conversation. And it's, like I suspected, it's been a privilege.
Pleasure's mine.
Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Bottomless Coffee with Jerome. You can stream all our episodes at bottomlesscoffeeshow.com. See you next time.